My breakups are painful beyond measure. Oh my God, it hurts so bad. Have you said this to someone you know? Have they said this? I really feel for the people that go through this level of discomfort and misery. I'm definitely one of them for years and years, decades even. Anytime there was the end of a relationship, romantic relationship, actually any relationship, could be friendly, could be romantic, could be family, could be whatever, even jobs, just this feeling that comes inside that is like pain, misery, sadness, hopelessness sometimes. If you're one that feels hopelessness, this video is for you. It's for everybody, but it's particularly for the people that feel hopeless. Because, oh my God, I felt hopeless so many times. It's just that, like, it's, let me see if I can find the words for it. It really is a pain that is so big and so throughout the entire system that it is hard to describe. And that hopelessness will create situations where just like, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? I don't know what I should do with my life. I don't know what I should do today. Like, maybe you wake up in the morning, assuming you even slept at all. And then you wake up in the morning and you're just like, I have no motivation to do. I know I need to get out of bed. I know I need to put on these clothes, and I know I need to shove some food in my face. And I know I need to drive to work, but God, I hate all of it. Everything feels empty. Yeah, I've never had the experience of the grayness where kind of life loses its colors, but I get it. I don't think it's ever affected my vision, but it's definitely affected my heart. And I remember one day waking up and I just moved into this new house. It was so lovely, and there's a window right next to my bed that looked out over this kind of nice farmland, and the sun would come in from an angle and it would just light up all these colors. I remember when I first moved in, I was just like, oh my goodness, this is so beautiful, and I'm so lucky that I get this every morning. And then after the breakup came, I would wake up and I'd go, look through the blinds, and it just didn't seem exciting anymore. So the colors are gone, or at least that warm joy inside the heart of seeing this beautiful scenery, that was gone. And that's one of the things we also see. We'll see that when the breakup comes, the happiness or joy that I might experience in other aspects of life vanishes. It goes away. And then it's really hard to be motivated. It's really hard to stay in ourselves. It's really hard to talk to people. Oh, here's another one. Oh my goodness. This one plagued me not proud of that, but that when you're in the depths of that much pain, and then it's just and you have no idea how to deal with it inside yourself. And then a friend, right? Someone who truly cares about you. Maybe, they appreciate you as a friend, or they appreciate what you bring to the community that you hang out with, or whatever, or someone that maybe deeply loves you, family member, and, deep bestie or whatever. And then that person comes into your life and they offer some kind of support, and you just pour all this pain and misery and negativity into that space between you. You're just oh, they're here to save me. Of course, our brain, our conscious mind doesn't think that, but the inner child inside, that's definitely the dynamic that's happening. I don't know how to live with this. Someone please save me. Someone come take it away. Someone come give me the energy or attention or validation or whatever. Someone tell me that I'm still lovable. Someone come tell me that that there is hope. Now, I know that there will be many people that will hear this and say, "Oh, you're talking about depression." Maybe. It is definitely a depressive episode. Is it clinical depression? I don't know. I've heard people use the term situational depression or reactive depression, something like that. Yeah, that probably fits. But again, I now live in a world where labels are not helpful. Like, sure, you can call it depression if you want, and then you take this great, big, complex, multifaceted, system hijacking experience and reduce it down to a couple of verbal syllables that float through the air and try to help me believe that somehow you understand what I'm going through. That's not helpful. That's not how the human nervous system works. The conscious mind, sure, right? But the felt, visceral, subconscious, inner child, survival-oriented nervous system does not give a flying F about your labels. What that system cares about is, I don't want to be alone, and I don't want to be struggling. I don't want to be suffering. I don't want to feel like someone tell me that you want to be with me. Someone come tell me, not with words, with actions, with visceral experience. Come tell me that I'm not alone. Tell me that I'm worthy of attention. Yeah, just tell me that I'm not horrible. Does that resonate with anybody? I'm speaking from experience here, right? I remember those days. And so maybe before I go any further, I want to tell you there is hope. Like, I know that hopelessness feels incredibly powerful, but there is hope. There is a path through this. There is a way. There might be many ways, but I just know the way that I found and the way that I teach. So, and I'm 100% positive, guaranteed there is a path through this. It is not easy. It is hard. It takes focus and hard work, and because the thing that is underneath all this is a belief system, a massive network of neurological pathways that form a belief system, which then form a master index of like threat. That may not make sense yet, but it will. And then this master index of threat is now looking at this experience that we're in and concluding that this situation is terrifying because it is a threat to our very existence. And that network that's down there, it touches all aspects of our life. And so I don't really believe anymore in these ideas that we're going to go through some kind of peak experience and then all that's going to be released. It's not like some kind of like, I don't know, some kind of residue, psychic or emotional or whatever, that just clinging to my whatever. And then if I can just, scratch it through, scratch it off enough, it's going to just slough off my system and then I'll be free of it. Like, I tried many, many of those. I literally live in a town now where it might be one of the highest concentrations of that anywhere in the world. And so I see it every day, and I see people struggling with it every day and chasing after these dreams of like the magic solution that's going to help me feel better. And the truth is, we can feel better in a moment. We can engage in things that we call peak experiences, where it's just like, I muster up enough of the positive emotions, or there's connection there or whatever, that like my nervous system feels safe and supported and nurtured and comfortable and cared for and whatever. And then that will create all these positive emotions that will go up, 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 up. And in that brief moment, I get to escape the pain, which is entirely a thing. That's entirely possible, right? But does it have staying power? And that's where I see that approach not underperforming. We'll just say I see that approach underperforming. The efficacy of those peak experiences to have staying power over a longer period of time, or to create kind of true change in trajectory in that person's life, is on the low end of the spectrum. The way I see it, and of course for me personally, I engaged with many of those, or all, and did not see meaningful change in trajectory. I did not see a significant change in the way that I process stress, a significant change I say it all the time, test it. So it's like, okay, so I go do whatever this modality is, and then I'm like, okay, I feel good. I just had a peak experience and I'm healed now. And then I run off into the life with this new kind of sense of empowerment and excitement, and I'm driven and all the good things, right? And then I'm in this high, literally like an endorphin high or a drug high, and kind of representing a happy, full of life, joyful, motivated person, right? Arguably my best self. And then, of course, I meet people, and then eventually you meet someone, and then that person finds attractiveness to your best self, and you're just like, yay, it's working. and then you go through this sequence of relationship, and then, of course, it comes, the same old patterns start to reveal themselves, and you try to follow the ritual of like, oh, I need to use I statements when I'm communicating, and I need to do this, and I'm not doing my morning routine, and blah, 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 right? Whatever the systematic formulated rituals are that you learned. And then the relationship comes to an end. The relationship comes to an end. And then what happens? My nervous system just explodes, melts down simultaneously, heartbroken, pain, misery, and then the same old stuff happens. And then there was a day that I had to take a very hard, difficult, uncomfortable look at that and say, wait a second, I'm literally in the same loop over and over again. And I'm looking at all this materials I've learned and modalities I've engaged with, and things I thought I knew. And then I also looked at these friendships that have basically been consumed. Like their goodwill towards me has been used up because the amount of pain that I brought from the last breakup had basically used up all their well-being, their well-meaning, their support, and they didn't have the energy to carry this weight. They got their own lives, they got kids, they got their own life, they got whatever, right? They don't have the excess capacity to carry this tremendous weight of my misery. And, so then that starts a shame loop on that one. And so I'm like, I've used up friendships. I have engaged with all these modalities of healing, and yet I'm still in the same loop. Shadow and shame speaks. Well, that's because you're that broken. You're broken beyond hope. You're broken beyond measure. Like, who would want to be connected with you, right? All the dark voices of self-doubt and all that stuff. If this resonates with you, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. If this doesn't resonate with you, then maybe this isn't the right video for you, and that's okay. But also, if you have a friend who is going through this, maybe keep watching and share this with them, because it's like when you're in it that deep, you look at these people around you that seem to be having a normal life and seem to be dealing with stresses just fine or whatever, and you're just like, and you become acutely aware of this difference between the two of you. You're just like, wow, I'm all the way down here in this pit. And then there's these people around here and they just seem to be bouncing through life effortlessly. Like, sure, they have stresses here and there, but like they don't have anything as hard as what I'm going through. So that leads to a place where we feel isolated. Yeah, that isolation is really rough. So it's like, I'm down. I feel worthless. I feel unwanted. I feel heartbroken. There's this despair of losing the person I care about so much. And then on top of that, I feel this isolation because it's like, I'm not like these other people. Oh, what's the other one we see all the time? When, it's a trope or meme in movies where the person goes through the breakup and then suddenly they're hyper aware of every person around them, every friend or every person sitting in a cafe that is in a partnership. And then you're looking at that, just longing with this longing in your heart, being like, oh, I wish I could. I used to have that. I had that yesterday. I don't have it today. I may never have it again. I don't know if anyone will choose me again. Yeah. Does this resonate with people? All right. So what's going on there and what can we do about it? What's going on there is that, as if you've seen any of my other videos, you'll probably know what's coming, is that what's going on there is that we have wounds that occurred in our early childhood before age 2 or 3, where something happened with our primary attachment figures. And in that little baby brain, the baby nervous system, something happened in those moments where that nervous system reached the conclusion that said, I need the attention, validation, and everything else from an outside person, mom or dad, in order for me to feel okay. And because of the way the human organism evolved and develops over time, that's actually an appropriate thing for a period of time. During the early years of the baby's life, up until 5, 7, 10, it is actually very appropriate for that nervous system to be attuned and optimized to basically look to this external person to be my source of regulation and validation and attention. That's an appropriate thing. But because we need it for survival, right? But what's in an ideal situation, what should be happening during that period of time in those intervening years is that there should be a sequence of events and experiences that challenge that child into, they challenges that child up into points, basically to face the unknown. This is what play is. Play is, I am engaging in this activity and I don't know what's going to happen next. And I'm going to derive joy and fun and playfulness in the unveiling of it. Right? And so this is why so many of the bright minds and brilliant teachers around today are talking about, like Bessel van der Kolk and Gabor Mate and so many others that are, Peter Levine is big in that. They're talking about how the importance of play. Play is tremendously valuable. Now, quick side note, playing a video game does not count because that is actually not an unveiling. That is not a situation where you're in an unknown. You're actually in a very controlled system that has a very high state of determinants, predeterminants actually. And so the interacting with a video game is more an exercise in memorization of cause and effect relationships, and then memorization of sequential muscle activation. Make sense? Whereas play is like, we don't have a destination. We don't have a scorecard. We don't have achievements. We don't have loot boxes. We don't have any of that stuff, right? Even sports is arguably not fitting in a good definition of play, at least not a definition of play that's going to be applicable to development of a healthy nervous system and trauma management. Okay. So during our early years, we did not get the right combination of experiences that came into my nervous system to reinforce the idea that I actually can survive on my own. I didn't get that messaging. I didn't get that lesson. I didn't get the felt, visceral experience that said, I can handle this much stress. I can deal with this much uncertainty, this much stress, this much, jittery challenge and still be okay. I didn't get that lesson. And if the things I'm saying are resonating with you, then you probably didn't either. And so what happens there is that now we've got this real strong state of dependency. I am dependent upon another person, an external person, to come tell me that I'm okay, to come carry my burden when I feel stressed, to convince me that I'm lovable and desirable and worthy. That's their job. That's what I need, that because I don't know how to do it myself. So when that happens, we move forward in life. We reuse all the same neural pathways from the childhood in our adult romantic relationships. And now I'm in these adult romantic relationships. And when the person shows up and they're there and they're validating and they're telling me I'm lovable, and again, not with words, they are showing me, demonstrating that I am wanted, I am chosen, and they are prioritizing me. When they show that unequivocally, without a shadow of a doubt, that I am wanted, chosen, and prioritized, my nervous system generates a great deal of positive chemicals. It infuses our brain with a chemical cocktail that's very much like being on a drug trip. It's extremely powerful. And I use the term euphoria for this. It is so positive, it creates a state of euphoria in our system, which most of us will call love. That state of euphoric bliss is something that in movies and TV and friends that we hang out with and whatever else, all this messaging we get from media and even culture in general tells us that degree of euphoric bliss is love. And it's not. It's not, because it is completely self-driven, self-oriented, and it is driven entirely by attachment wounds. It feels great. Of course it does. It's a whole bunch of positive chemicals that are dumped into my brain and the rest of my bloodstream in an attempt to motivate me to grab this thing and hold on to it tight, because that's my source of survival. I need validation and love and sex and cuddles and blah, 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 blah. I need this whole list of things to come from an external person in order for me to feel safe in this world, and I'm not going to be excluded. Why does that matter? Because primates are not that strong in the animal kingdom. And a primate that gets excluded out of the pack will probably be eaten by a leopard. And so we have deep-seated neurological and physiological mechanisms to keep us adhered to the pack and to be terrified of exclusion. And so we find this person, they are approving of us. we grab on with everything we can and we say, all this positive stuff, it feels so good, and the chemistry is amazing, and the sex is phenomenal, and blah, 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 all that other stuff that we hear a million times. And you hold on tight and you say, oh my God, I'm so in love. And I say, it's so healing, and this is I've never felt this way before, and this is our future, and everything else, whatever, right? I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm downplaying this, because I lived in that world. I swam in that world. That world was emanating from every pore of my existence, and it let me down. I mean, it's just like, eventually I came to realize that approach is so needy and so clingy, so desperate, which is not great. A bit of a turnoff for people who are actually healthy. And then the flip side is that when you lose it, you lose your life. I've had jobs that were at risk. I've had, like I said, burn through relationships. My life is a misery for long periods. It's just like the flip side of you get to go high in this euphoria, but when you go that high, you're going to come crashing down. And when you crash down like that, it feels like it's going to destroy you. And for a lot of people, they will be so overtaken by the degree of pain and hopelessness and everything else that is the flip side of euphoria, that will consume them and overtake them so much that they don't want to go on. They don't want to wake up another day. They don't want to face another challenge. They say, I'm broken beyond measure. It's like, it'll never happen again. It's like, I don't know if anyone will ever choose me again, right? Every aspect of their system is completely focused on whether or not they're going to be chosen by another. And then tragically, unfortunately, some people act on that emotion. They act on that impulse. They act on that feeling that is overwhelming their system. And I am a person who's been at that doorstep many times. And have clear memories of just what it was like to be on that dark night in the middle of nowhere, feeling completely and utterly alone and no hope for the future. And just being like, ending the misery would be so much easier than trying to take another step. Not a good place to be. And so as I worked through this stuff and started teasing it apart and reading science journals and trying one thing after another and talking to people way smarter than me and all that kind of stuff, I began to kind of untangle this and being like, this dark depths that has smashed me so many times is entirely connected to how high the highs were. And how high the highs were are entirely connected to how low my internal belief of myself is, and my lack of calm, stable security in myself while I'm by myself without anyone choosing me. And I'm like, wait a second. So this misery that I'm experiencing is because I kept chasing the highs. I would literally put every other aspect of my life on hold just to get another fix. I'm not kidding there. Nothing else was as important as getting the next fix. What's the next fix? The next fix is getting to the moment where I could climb up into euphoria because there's a person that I like or I'm attracted to who's choosing me. And that compulsion, that drive inside would dominate every aspect of my life. And when you have something that's dominating every aspect of your life, you act selfishly. And so this kind of links together to other topics that are kind of hot in the field of personal development right now, because there's so many people using the term narcissist to like, he was a bloody narcissist and my ex was a covert and my mom, blah, maybe. But I think this explanation is far more compassionate, and it actually, honestly, it does a better job of explaining it. You have people with profound, deep-seated, unresolved attachment wounds that are desperately seeking a situation where they can feel wanted, chosen, and prioritized without exposing themselves in any way that feels threatening or vulnerable. Yeah, that person's going to act entirely selfishly. They're going to do things and act in ways that will take your energy because their nervous system is desperately trying to survive. It is terrified of the reality that they're in and will do anything to make that feeling go away. And the hard truth is that's probably you and I. So what do we do about all this? What do we do about this situation where I have these euphoric highs and depressive lows where I want to end it, and this string of volatility in relationships? What do we do about that? We have to go back to the beginning. Well, kind of. Let's say we have to get to the root. We have to dig down below the concepts and the labels, and it's like, oh, depressed, maybe. Anxiety disorder, maybe. ADHD, maybe. Like, these labels are unhelpful. Anxious, preoccupied, dismissive, avoidant, fearful, disorganized, la, 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 la. Bipolar, blah. Let all that go. Yes, there will be moments where it's helpful, sure, in those, mostly when you're talking to a clinician. But let all that go and sink into this fundamental, primal fear. Your breakup just happened. It feels horrible. It's painful beyond measure. Why? Are you at physical risk of death? In most cases, no. So what's going on? What are we so afraid of? What is this? What is it about this situation? Here's this pretty girl that liked me and hung out with me and cuddled with me, and we went on dates, and she gave me these like beautiful looks from across the room that made me feel special and loved and cared for and desired and la 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 la. And now that's gone. Worse. She's giving that to someone else. What's going on? Why is that so terrifying? Is she a separate human being? Yes. Is she fully autonomous? Yes. Do I believe that she gets to make choices for her own future? Yes. What's going on there then? Do I love and care for this person? Yes. Do I want them to have their best life? Do I want them to have joy and pleasure and excitement? Well, I used to when that pleasure and excitement and love and everything came from me. But now that she's doing that with another person, no, I don't want that. In fact, I want her to be miserable. I'm miserable. I want her to be miserable. I feel all this pain, and like I just want this person that hurt me so much. I want them to feel this depths of pain and misery and like, oh, right? Unfortunately, some people will take that impulse and resort to violence of word or action or text message or whatever. Don't do that. It doesn't help. I mean, in the brief moment, the ego feels validated and whatever else, but it's just like, sure, you can stroke your ego for a second, but it doesn't have long-term viability. A week later, a month later, a year later, you're just going to be in the same cycle, doing the same thing with the next one. Sure, if that's the path you want, that's your choice. But don't expect it to change. And don't expect truly wonderful, healthy people to tolerate it. Right? That's a rough one. So drop the labels, get down underneath, figure out what actually is the fear. And eventually, you'll find this fear that is like, I'm not being chosen. I'm not being wanted. Nobody wants me anymore. definitely nobody's prioritizing me. Nobody's putting me first in their life. She used to, and now she is prioritizing somebody else. That feels horrible. What am I afraid of? I'm afraid of being alone. That's appropriate for a primate. I'm afraid of being unwanted. Also appropriate. I'm afraid that this horrible feeling that I've got is going to last forever. That's a trick. It's an illusion, but that's pretty common. So if you have a chance to meditate that on a moment and realize just how much of an illusion that is, that's usually helpful. But we begin to see that a real reason underneath all of this is that I am completely and wholly dependent upon an external person to show up and tell me that I'm wanted, tell me that I'm chosen, and tell me that I'm prioritized. Tell me that I'm lovable, tell me that I'm worthy. If there's a person doing that, I feel good. If that person that was doing it leaves, I feel miserable. For those that have put the pieces together thus far, you'll begin to understand that that is the same dynamic that a drug addict goes through. When the fix is here, I'm super on top of the world. Take the fix away and I crash down. And I'm miserable. And then what does my nervous system do? Where's the next fix? What thoughts begin to dominate my thinking space is how do I get to the next fix? And look at yourself in regards to your entire relationship history. Look at the people around you. Walk into any group of young adults and look for this pattern, and you will see it in spades. You will see a bunch of drug addicts desperately craving for their next fix. Who's the next person that's going to tell me I'm important? Who's the next person that's going to validate me? Who's the next person that's going to let me have sex with them so that I feel like I'm actually so cool that someone will choose to have sex with me? That's bonkers, but that's the way it works. Yeah. Get off the train. Get out, jump out of the loop. It's hard, but I tell you, it's the way. Get out of this loop where we're constantly seeking the next fix so we can go to our euphoric high and be so in love, only to come crashing down again and have our life be a misery and ruin. Get out of that loop. How do we get out of that loop? We have to pull our agency and power back into ourselves and get to the point where I say, I need no external person to validate me. It's nice when it happens. It's like frosting on the cake or, extra chocolate chips in the cookies or whatever, right? It's like, it's a nice bonus, but I can survive each and every day without it. That's the answer. I started this with, my breakups are painful beyond measure. True. Been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. The answer to that quandary in life is to connect with self, is to bring an awareness and an intention, a very, very intentional building of a relationship with this system. People say, what are you talking about? I know who I am. No, you don't. The fact that a person would say, I know who I am, shows us that they don't 99% of the time. Start the process of connecting with self with the simple statement, I don't know who the hell I am. And it's time for me to go discover it. Think about it at the beginning stages of a relationship. First date, you're sitting across the table from each other. I don't know who the hell you are. I need to learn. I need to discover. I need to ask questions. I need to tell jokes. I need to, watch the way you eat food. I need to see what kind of things you're interested in. We go for a walk afterwards, and it's like, where do you want to walk? And what shops do you look at, or what farm fields do you go play in, or whatever, right? I need to discover you as a person. This is the process of self-love. I need to discover and inquire about who you are. And if I start from the position that I already know everything I need to know about you. How attractive is that on a date? Imagine going on a date and someone sits down, they're just like, oh, I already know all about you. Why are you here then? It's like, oh, I'm just here to get some support, validation, and sex. Just like, F off. Not interested, not attractive, get out of my life. This is what we're doing with the inner child. For people that go through this kind of pain and misery in a breakup, that's what's going on. They have completely abandoned and neglected the relationship with self because they're so desperately chasing after the next fix, which is validation from the outside. Cut off relationships for a while. Just stop. Might be painful, probably be filled with anxiety, misery, and loneliness. Those are uncomfortable, but they're not going to kill you. Take that time to say, who the hell is living inside this system? What do I actually like? And every time you get an answer, question it. Really? Like I jokingly say, I'm not even sure I know what my favorite color is because of how much that might have been influenced by the people around me. You think you like sushi? Maybe. Or do you just like sushi because saying that you like sushi in your social unit gives you a certain amount of credibility or validation, or I'm better than you, or whatever. Oh yeah, I really like sushi. I like this kind, blah 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 blah. Or I like this kind of craft beer. Or I like that kind of Pokemon, or whatever. Right? We see this dynamic all the time. A person gets really, really into something, and they kind of take it on as this mantle of their identity because it earns social cred. That's what I'm talking about. And you say, oh, I love microbrews. Do you really? Go into a world where there are no other people. Imagine a world where there's nobody else. How much time do you spend drinking microbrew? That there's not a single person on this earth that you get to tell about it. You get to brag about it. You get to chat about it. You don't get to participate in any of the Reddit groups or any of this other stuff. You just get to be and enjoy your thing without another person on this earth. Then maybe you can say you like it. We can even play tricks there, but yeah. So get to know this person that's inside this meat sack that you're driving around. There's an inner child in there. It's about 5 years old, somewhere between 5 and 7. And it's you at 5 and 7. And he or she lives inside you. And she has preferences and hopes and dreams and things she enjoys. And you know one of the things she really likes? She really likes attention. She really likes presence. She really likes someone sitting with her and saying, I'm here with you. Not to get anything, not to achieve anything, not to chase after some dream or manipulate some situation. I'm just here just to be with you. And let's have some fun. Let's play. Let's do something that we don't know the outcome of. And explore and to see what that's like. And I'll tell you the truth. You do this. You flush out that relationship. You earn the trust of that child that lives inside you so that he or she is communicating with you openly and sharing hopes and dreams and sadness and everything else. And that child comes to you for guidance, comes to you for support, comes to you for nurturing energy. You will stop looking for it from the outside. You will feel so good and warm and connected inside yourself that you don't need it from the outside world. And then breakups are less painful. We have solved this breakups are painful problem in your life by helping you develop a relationship with a 5-year-old child. And then there's far-reaching consequences that cross many domains of your life once we do that. Because when I'm in this position where it's just like, oh yeah, I feel great just sitting here with myself and I don't actually need this validation. That allows us to enter into relationships not from a place of lack and fear and craving and desperation. It allows us to enter in relationships because, oh, I see traits about you that I really respect and admire. And I see that we would actually work really well together moving forward towards a mutual goal together. And then this inner confidence that you've built by developing this relationship with that child, this inner confidence you built and this like groundedness that you have in the world, guess what? You have children, real life children birthed into this world, and those children will be around you and they will passively absorb that confidence. Whereas previously, when we're in the place where breakups are painful beyond measure because I've got this addict-like desperation for external validation, those children that you've birthed in this world, they will passively absorb that also. Is that what you want? Because that's not what I want. I want to be here to help educate people to understand how this stuff works so that we can protect that next generation of children. So I know I've covered a lot of material here. I hope it's been helpful. I hope that this brings a perspective and an awareness to your life so that you can understand that these big, painful breakups you're going through are common. Like that amount of pain is common. Many, many people experience it. It is incredibly powerful and incredibly life-changing. Don't let anybody blow this off as not a big deal, because it's a big deal. But also a key message here is that the pathway to freedom, the pathway to survival, the pathway to getting to the other side of all this lies in your hands. It has to do with your intention and your ability to foster that relationship with self. Not sure what else there is to say. I cover lots of this stuff in my other videos. I'm on all the social medias, To My Method. Yeah, I hope this has been helpful. Peace.